Greetings, my name's Tim Johnson. This is Recovery, Strength, Hope and Courage. I'm making this video as an update really on because I'm not making as many videos. I'm having a bit of a time away from it, and I'm trying just to make a video when I feel as though I've got something to say, not just for the sake of making a video, if you like. I'm feeling really good at the moment, which I'll come on to in a minute, but I'll give you a bit of background for those of you who have not sort of been with my channel from the beginning, because I started making these videos, I think it was the 1st of January, my first one. I'd been clean for quite a short time then when I first started making them. I don't normally look at dates. When I first got clean, I was looking at dates. Well, I'm so many days clean, I'm 50 days, 60 days clean, and it was all landmarks and it was great. But there comes a point when you stop looking at dates. And then the other day my daughter asked me about how long I hadn't had any alcohol for. So I looked at the dates of both when I gave up opiates and when I gave up alcohol. Well, it's literally 7 months, 1 week since I last took an alcoholic drink, and 10 months and a couple of weeks since I last had any form of opiate or mind-altering medication of any sort. Not even a paracetamol, believe it or not, which is true. To give you a bit of background on where I was, for those of you who weren't with my channel at the beginning and don't know anything about me, I'm not going to go into great depth about all this because it would take too long. And I'd sent my story to Ryan Donnelly, who very kindly did it in, I think it was August or September of last year, which was great. So, and really kind of him, which gave me a really good boost at the time. I think I've been clean about a month from opiates at that stage. Anyway, I've been addicted to, or was addicted to, opiate medication, to alcohol, from my early 20s, really. I say from my early 20s, alcohol from probably before that. I drank very heavily in my late teens, or 18 to 20, and it escalated in my 20s, really, because I worked in the hotel and catering industry and pub industry, and nightclubs to start with, which didn't help matters really, but I was drinking very heavily. Initially, my drug of choice at that time was amphetamine and amphetamine sulfate, or Whiz it's called over here, Billy Whiz. And then that moved on when I got more money, obviously. Cocaine came into the picture, and I had a couple of years when I was very heavily into cocaine in my early 20s. In my mid 20s, I discovered opiates, and initially it was by accident. It was an opiate medication that was given to me after I hurt my back, and I found massive comfort from it and just went from there. I never went back to cocaine or anything like that, or I've never really been into benzodiazepines, although I've flirted with Valium and Librium, but and opiates became my drug of choice. And it escalated and escalated and escalated, and I drank alongside it, although at that time the opiates were really in charge of everything. I've taken, well, it started with codeine, basically codeine medication, strong codeine medication, and went up. I was on fentanyl patches, went up to MST, morphine sulfate tablets, to the strongest one they prescribed. When that all fell through and they realised that I was abusing my medication, which I was badly, I flirted with heroin, smoking heroin for a good period of time, but always seemed to go back to opiate painkilling medication, strong opiate painkilling medication, drank alongside it. To cut a long story short, I always managed to maintain good jobs throughout, and my marriage to a wonderful, beautiful woman, Linda, and 2 beautiful children. But during this period of time, I did two residential rehabs, both for 12 weeks, both 12-step rehabs. And I had short periods of sobriety, both from alcohol and opiates, during my 30s and 40s. Sometimes the 2 times I went to residential rehab were 2 of those times. And there was another time when I was running marathons and sort of got addicted to that, if you like, and was away from it for a bit then. But I always came back, always relapsed. I then had a couple of years on Suboxone, which was great because it gave me my life back to a certain extent. Because I destroyed everything by this point. I say I'm cutting a long story short here, but into my 40s, my marriage was falling apart. My children disliked me. I had no respect. I lost all my friends. I'd sold all my jewellery, which, much to my shame, some of it was very, very special that had been bought to me by my wife. I was stealing from my family, from my friends. It had reached a critical point. Anyway, I went on Suboxone for 2 years, and that gave me my life back to a certain extent, which I won't hear anyone knocking Suboxone. Um, it helped me reorganize my life and organize the chaos that was my life. And anyway, to cut another long story short, I took drugs whilst I was on Suboxone, which was stupid because it didn't do me. I didn't get anything from it. You can't get high from it, but I failed a test at so they stopped prescribing me Suboxone, and I relapsed badly. Everything went down the shitter then. Basically, my whole life just it escalated. Still managed to work all the way through it. I was holding down jobs. Eventually, I came out of the management. My wife gave me a job chefing in the business because I'm a trained chef. But all the time I was using heavily and drinking heavily. My drinking was all getting out of control. The opiate medication, crazy. I was taking stuff that should have killed me. But as you know, your tolerance level goes up and up and up. And I wasn't taking drugs at this stage or alcohol to get high. I was just maintaining myself to stop withdrawal setting in. Anyhow, the inevitable happened, and me and my wife separated, and I went to live in a little house which we owned in Tamworth in the Midlands in England. 2 years of almost killing myself there. Same thing happened. Again, I managed to hold a manual job down there. My wife supported me all through this, and as much as she never saw me short of money or food or anything like that, and paid the mortgage. Although in the end, I was claiming for the mortgage. And then my hip went, and I had to have a hip replacement operation. This stage, I was just under 55 years old. And me and my wife had talked about cashing in my pension that was coming to me at 55 and some savings we had and getting a property in Spain. We'd always talked about that. I went in for the hip operation and had that. And all this time that was going on, by this stage I was on a drug called Tramadol, which is an insidious drug, which I was abusing really badly. I was also taking your equivalent to hydrocodone, which is a very strong codeine tablets. Again, crazy amounts. And we bought the property in Spain. I came over to Spain, and I spent 2 years almost killing myself here, blaming everything and everyone but myself. And 10 months ago, that was it. And if you look back at my videos, it all explains my withdrawal and coming. I'm not going to go into all that now and the reasons why I came off and all the rest of it. But what was different, you ask? What has changed in 7 months? What's if you count the opiates, 10.5 months and 7 and a bit months for the alcohol? What's changed? And what's changed is, as I mentioned before in other videos, it's my mindset. Because if you carry on, there's an old saying, isn't there? If you carry on dancing with the devil, you'll stay in hell. So something had to change really badly, and it was fear was stopping me. A lot of it was fear, but I didn't realise I had a choice. As most of you know, and you've all got really bad. I'm not going to diss any of your circumstances, but I blamed everything and everyone but myself. I blamed the suicide of my grandfather who shot himself in a hotel. I blamed my father being abusive and physically violent and leaving when I was 7 or 8 years old, never saw him again. I blamed my mother's collapse and alcoholism and drug taking and the fact we had an absolutely shit childhood. I blamed everything. You name it, I blamed it. I blamed, that I didn't feel as though I looked good. I just blamed, any excuse felt bad, felt I would turn to alcohol and drugs, which is an illusion. It's an illusion that we use to hide our emotions and to mask our emotions and the way we're feeling. And human beings we're built to feel, really. We should feel. To go through life numb and not feel emotion is not living life, is it? not to feel anything, even fear and sadness. We should feel these things because they're there for a reason. They're there to teach us, and they're there for us to use it as human beings, because that's a natural thing to do and the thing we should do. What's changed is the reason I've stayed clean. This is the longest period of sobriety that I've ever had in my life, and the reason is that I've discovered that I had a choice, really. That everything in life is a choice, is it? You're in charge of your feelings, and this takes time to master. It's not something that you can get overnight, but you've got to realise that it's only you that chooses to put the drug or the alcohol in your body. It's only you that chooses to eat the shit food, the sugar, the salt, the processed food. It's only you that chooses to not exercise and be overweight and unhealthy. It's your choice. Everything you do, everything you say, everything you do, everything you feel, everything you put into your body is your choice. You may use excuses to try and mask that and say that it's not your choice because you've had terrible things happen to you. And some of you had terrible things happen to you in your life. And I understand that. And I know that. And I'd be a hypocrite to say, it's easy this, because it isn't. Because I've used drink and drugs all my life to mask these things. But there comes a time when you have to make the choice. You either want to live or you want to die, really. And I chose to live. I chose to live for my daughters, and my wife, which were the main things, my main focus: wedding and grandchildren and life. But also, it was for me. The main reason was for me. You have to choose for yourself. You have to want to do it. But you have to realise that you can choose, and that you are in charge, and that it's your choice that whether you pick up a drink or a drug. And fear stops us. So the first thing to do is to conquer that fear, to face it. And I said this in the other video. Face everything and rise is what you should be doing. That spells fear. Face everything and rise, not to run away from everything. So that's how you need to approach this. It's a battle, of course. It's a battle, but it's a mindset. It's a positive mindset. I have things all over my apartment now. That little signs. I am stronger than I've ever been, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I read, and I'm constantly looking at these signs. There's one at the gym. I go to Krav Maga. There's one at the gym which is quite good, in 2-foot high letters, which spells out, pain is just weakness leaving the body. It may not. If you're going through withdrawal now, you're probably something to piss off, but it's true. If you have these mindsets, this strength, and you can face up to these things and realize it's a choice, and choose not to put these things in your body. And I now choose only to put good things. I've stopped salt, processed foods. You've got to realize that no one will tell you about this stuff, because the drugs industry will probably take this video off, because the drugs industry, as you all know, is corrupt. It's in league with the medical industry. There's many papers been published on this, and they won't tell you about nutrition, switching off cancers and illnesses and depression and all the rest of it. They'll just keep prescribing the shit that goes into your bodies and get you hooked on it, because it's all a big money-making scam, while all the doctors go on jollies and conferences and backhanders and bribes just to keep these drugs on the market. And that's all sorts of drugs, not just opiate medication. So make the choice. Make the choice. Choose to rise. Choose to not put any alcohol in your mouth, and choose to not put a drug in your body, and fight and go through that pain, that initial pain. I don't even think about cravings or thoughts of alcohol. I don't think of many days sober I've got, as I said to you. I just think about how great I feel. Anyhow, till next time, because this video is running out. Carpe diem, seize the day. Stay strong and hold on if you're struggling. Much love.